Peace, family, and welcome to another episode of Underground Railroad Radio. This is your host, Brother Rich, and I am in the building with Professor Griff. What's happening, brother?
Peace. How you feel, good brother? You all right? It's a pleasure to be here, man.
Yeah, I'm good, brother. I'm good. I got a show that I definitely want to speak with you about, get your opinion about. It touches me because it's a continuation from the last show we had. But before I start, let me just tell the family something real quick before I start.
Right.
I left off the last conversation with you and Sister Zaz, and I was telling about the Sankofa School in Brooklyn. I haven't met with the brother Mike yet. To the family out there listening, I had a death in my family, so as far as me meeting up with individuals, my schedule has been kind of conflicting with people, so I haven't met with the brother Mike yet. We are going to meet. We are going to be doing an interview because our interview today is based on school for the second time in a row. And we all know the answer to the majority of things we talk about is to start our own. So I will speak with the brother Mike and have an interview with him and talk about contributing to black schools this week. So just stay tuned for that. I will have the interview with that, and we're going to have some big things going on soon. So stay tuned for that. I just wanted to put that out there. But
good things.
To move on to the show.
So first, let me just say I'm sorry for the death in your family. May the Creator be pleased. All right.
Yes, as we know in our culture, there is no death, and I know it's hard for us to realize that. It's hard for me to realize that. When it hits home, it's the hardest. I talk a lot of metaphysical shit, and I don't want to call it shit and devalue it, but when it hits home, it's a little harder. And
because we as a people, right, definitely. But we as a people, we never held on to this European concept of calling and saying about our people, the late so-and-so or the late so-and-so. When they speak of their, especially during the Memorial Day and Veterans Day, they don't ever speak about their killers as the late so-and-so. You understand what I'm saying? But they try to keep that energy alive. They never say the late Jesus or the late Santa Claus or the late Tooth Fairy. Shit. You understand what I'm saying?
Teach, brother, teach.
Okay.
So you're right. So with that being said, just stay tuned, people. I got y'all. We got a lot of things, big things coming up. To move on to the show, Professor Griff, we have a situation that is all over social media, all over the news outlets. What's going on in University in Missouri? That a protest that has sparked protests all over the campuses, all over the country. Different campuses are following what happened in the University of Missouri. What's happening? Racial incidents is happening in the University of Missouri. Students got tired of it. They started protesting. What is interesting is that once the football team, the thing what's so good about me talking with Professor Griff about this today is that I deal a lot with pop culture with Professor Griff because we know that's where our people are at. So we deal with sports and entertainment. We get criticized for it, but it is what it is. That's where our people are at.
Right.
So we have the sports team that decides to protest. Once the sports team, the men's sports team, decides to protest, you just all over the news. National coverage, they protest. All of a sudden, the president, there's two resignations after that. What's your assessment on what's going on? Because to me, it just seems like there's articles saying, wow, does it take the athletes? Why is it the athletes, Griff?
I think my take, Brother Rich, and my overall assessment of the situation, of course, my reference point is it has to be the thing that's reverberating not only in the news with the alphabet boys, but it's reverberating in the hearts and minds of young black people that are on the campus. And now it's affecting whites on the campus because there's only 10% blacks on that particular campus, University of Missouri, right? And I saw a picture of 100 people gathered together to stand with the football players. This was faculty, this was coaches, these are students, black, white, and a few Asians and a few other people, but they're standing alongside of the the football plays in this particular situation. So the reference point to me, when I take a step back and take an overall assessment, we have to understand what Frances Cress Welsing gave us in her definition of racism, white supremacy, to make it clear. So if racism, white supremacy is the local and global power system and dynamic, structured and maintained by persons who classify themselves as white, whether consciously, and this is important, Brother Rich, consciously or subconsciously determined. Some people may not even realize on a subconscious level why they're out there protesting what seems to be some racial energy and racial charges and racial incidents that have been taking place on the campus ever since black students have been there. But on a conscious level, black students are experiencing it simply because we have a degree of understanding what racism, white supremacy looks like on the surface. To some whites, they may not recognize it because it's consciously or subconsciously determined, which consists of patterns of perception, logic, symbol formation, thought, speech, action, and emotional response as conducted simultaneously in all areas of people activity. Now, Brother Rich, these areas of people activity number, the number is 9. So let's understand economics and education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war for the ultimate purpose of white genetic survival. But listen, we're talking about education in this case. We're talking about economics in this case. We're talking about entertainment in this case. And we're talking about law, which is all wrapped up into the politics and the science of racism, white supremacy, and understanding it from that particular perspective. So Frances Cress Welsing says they will utilize deceit, violence, and inclusive of chemical and biological warfare and psychological warfare. And if you understand what's going on right now on the campus, Brother Rich, this is psychological warfare at its best. If we understand Amos Wilson's work, right? Amos Wilson said the more things change, the more things stay the same.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've heard that when he talked about his European continents, right? So what's changing, Brother Rich, in this particular case? You have two school incidents with Columbia or Columbus attached to it. If you do the science, right? Both in Missouri. And we're talking about racism. And then when we go study Amos Wilson's work, he talk about the more things change, the more they stay the same. This is the same old trick and the same old game. As a matter of fact, Brother Rich, I was at that lecture. It was the War Against the African Mind in 1989. And what Amos Wilson talks about is true. In the area of sports, as Elijah Muhammad talked about, he talked about sport and play. And when the football players stood up and said, listen, we're not doing a damn thing. We ain't practicing. We ain't putting on a jersey. We're not even going on the field unless the president and the chancellor of this particular school deal with these racial incidents because we're sick and tired of it. A lot of people are saying protests don't work, but it seems like the students, Brother Rich, and the football players have struck a nerve. They found a niche in the glitch, and they're saying, look, we're going to try this whether it work or not. You understand what I'm saying? And it's working. They said millions of dollars. They stand to lose millions of dollars at this particular school if them football players don't play. Well, hell, other pro teams should look at this. A lot of baseball, basketball, fucking hockey, tennis, ping pong, and the rest of them should look at this. You understand what I'm saying? As a tactic to use to not only get white people's attention, but to actually shut aspects of this particular system down so close to these unholy days. I'm talking about Veterans Day and the Turkey Day, Thanksgiving Day, and the rest of this madness.
Now, I know you touched on what I'm about to ask before, Professor Griff, but at the same time, I know that repetition is the best teacher. Hell, they use repetition against us. They tell us we ugly every day when we see a savior in a color that's not our color. So they damn sure use the tactic every day, 365 days a year. So I want to use a little repetition. I asked you this before, but I'm going to ask you in a different way today. Now, the first thing I want to say is that they keep telling us, this is what they keep telling us, Professor Griff, different generations, because they know different generations think differently. So hopefully if they keep saying the same thing to different generations, they can get a different response. LeBron James is 30 years old. I'm 33. LeBron James is 30 years old. He has recently decided to wear shorter basketball shorts than usual this season because he said he wants to change the perception that black people are looked at as viewed. Now, it's nothing negative with the brother. Maybe he may, in his heart, he feels as though that may be the right solution. If I wear shorter basketball shorts, my shorts won't be as baggy. They won't judge me and look at me as a nigga. So I know the importance I have. Let me set a trend. But anyway, moving on. Professor Griff, they tell us if we take out, they told us if we took out our cornrows. I remember Carmelo Anthony when he first took out his cornrows. And I want to use a sports example because, like I said, that's where people is at.
Right.
When Carmelo Anthony first took out his cornrows and he got like a dark Caesar with waves, he said he's glad he cut his hair because he could be looked at as more professional now. Not to quote him verbatim, but that's generally what he said.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Professor Griff, they tell us if we talk a certain way, we won't be looked at as a nigga. We use too much ebonics. If we speak proper, we won't be looked at as a nigga. If you just speak, if you take a little bass out of your voice and you speak a certain way, white society will respect you. Professor Griff, they tell you all types of stuff about what you have to do. If your woman didn't look as sexual, she wouldn't be viewed as a whore. If she covered herself in 3/4, she wouldn't be looked as a whore. Every time we turn around, they're telling us they told us. Hold up, Professor Griff. They told us if we didn't protest violently, if we didn't act aggressively, we'd be treated a certain way. And these students protested peacefully, and they have threats saying they're going to get killed every day, or all of them are going to be killed. Professor Griff, what is it that we have to do if we want to get the respect, or just if we want to get equality, or whatever term I'm looking for, I'm sure you know. But what is it we have to do to get to where we want to get? Because we keep coming out with something new. Oh, no, it's the dress. No, it's our woman. No, yeah, dressed like whores. No, it's the men that dress like thugs. No, wait a minute. I got it. It's how we speak. It's something new all the damn time, Professor Griff. So what is it we have to do to get where we want to get, Professor Griff?
I think, Brother Rich, I think the term or the phrase that you are and we are looking for is self-respect. I think the built into the idea and the concept of self-respect, self-love. If we loved ourselves, we wouldn't have to change for anyone. Notice what we just talked about, what Amos Wilson said, the more things change, the more they stay the same. How many times have we sat back and we've witnessed black people doing whatever we do under the oppression that we're under in America, coming through that particular oppression and expressing ourselves in the blackest way we know how, and then everybody on the planet follows us, Brother Rich. Michael Jordan said something that it may not have been profound to the virgin ears, but he said if he wore shorter shorts. Hell, if Michael Jordan wore no damn shorts, white people would follow him. Because what they do is they build these sports players up to be the gods in the eyes of those of us that are still operating in the confines of this thing that they created called the projects. Therefore, we're coming out of the projects, but we still have that project, quote-unquote, mentality. So if we wore red, black, and green diamond-crusted thongs on the goddamn basketball court, white people would follow them. White people have no sense of creating a thriving culture for themselves unless it's stooped in death. And anything that they get their hands on, the ultimate end result when black people participate in it is the death of our culture. Once we invite them in, once we validate them, once they come in, it automatically leads to an economic death for black people, a cultural death for black people, the sense of self that black people have once we lead everyone out. Look at Oklahoma, Black Wall Street. When we took care of ourselves and we built our own, and we had our own businesses, schools and hospitals and farmland and this kind of thing, and we left them out and we did for ourselves, we thrived. As long as we allowed them to come in, it automatically marks the death for black people on a lot of different levels. So if Michael Jordan, and Michael Jackson, hell, Michael Jordan wanted to set a new trend to get a level of respect from white people, it's not going to lie in him shortening his shorts. And I'm going to just tell you straight up, and I mean no disrespect to anybody that's listening to this. Some of us, man, are the last brothers that got off the goddamn slave ship. Some of us can't shorten the damn shorts. We just, we just can't do that. And white people understand the penis envy. You understand what I'm saying? As Dr. Frances Cress Welsing so eloquently put in her book, The ISIS Papers.
Right.
Some of us can't. Some of us can't shorten the shorts. Michael Jordan probably can, but some of us just can't do that. We have to express ourselves in a different kind of way. Listen, I was watching football the other week, and there's a team that looked like Tony the Tiger. I think it's the Cincinnati Bengals or somebody. And I was like, that's an ugly-ass damn uniform. But I think that team is 7-0. So it ain't the goddamn uniform. You understand what I'm saying? It's not the uniform. It's not the shorts that's going to make white people respect us. It's not clothing. It's not how we talk, because we've managed to master this language. You understand what I'm saying? And be able to communicate with one another, because they had actually put black people, by their own admission, they had actually put black people to sleep totally. They said no light would come to our minds, or into our minds, for us to raise ourselves up. But they constantly keep us in this trick bag, and they constantly make us think that they're changing something. But racism, white supremacy, is like a chameleon. It'll give the illusion as though it's changing. So what? A couple of coaches and a couple of white people and some Asians were out there protesting and standing side by side with the football players. Let's get to the root. We're not talking about someone took some damn feces and inscribed the damn swastika on the wall somewhere. What does that have to do with black people? We're not affected by that particular symbol like other people are. We're talking about racism. And when I heard that, Brother Richard said, they talking about institutionalized racism, or what they talking about? They sure didn't mention the curriculum and all the racist things that are in the curriculum. So if you're talking about a few incidents that happened on campus, a few crackers driving by calling some people niggas and that kind of thing, okay, you're going to get that on any campus. But the deeper essence of this, Brother Rich, probably lies in not only the curriculum, but the fact that they keep saying that these kind of schools are the highest when it comes to diversity. And I've yet to see diversity. I've yet to see multiculturalism. I've yet to see all these concepts that white people stick their chest out about at graduation day. You understand what I'm saying? I've yet to see these concepts work for black people.
Now, Professor Griff, I want to, since you talked about, systematic racism, I want to read something that went before the professor resigned. I believe his name is Professor Wolf. When the students asked him about, systematic oppression, they asked him to give them his definition of systematic oppression. The answer he gave them, he said, "I will give you an answer, and I'm sure it will be a wrong answer. Systematic oppression is because you don't believe that you have the equal access for success." The students responded in shock by saying, "Did you just blame us for systematic oppression?" I'm going to end it there. What I want to talk to you about, Professor Griff.
Okay, can I just answer that real quick?
Let me say this before, because I think this is going to trigger something.
All right.
Because there's such a spiritual revolution, and I deal with metaphysics, people get fooled by his statement, and they think that. Let me just say this: the church does the same thing with the law of attraction, and this and that, and you could attract things to your life. And they tell Creflo Dollar tells the people that, how you think, your thoughts control your reality. He says that. He gives about 80% of the truth, but then he comes with 20% of the lies. Then he says you got to give to God, you got to give it to church for it to happen. So they know about 80%. They know they control their reality, but then he hits them with the but you got to give to me, niggas, if you want to get that money.
Right.
So he got his little slick game to it. These white folks got their little slick game to it. They know the power of belief, but then they come up with this shit only happened to you, because you believe it happens to you. So I just had to say that because there's a lot of people that have heavy spiritual principles that listen to the show, and I want you to let them know the tricks that they pull in the agenda that they have. They take these spiritual principles and they manipulate them for their own agenda. So I just want to say that. But go ahead, Professor Griff.
Elijah Muhammad calls this particular thing that we're talking about right now, brother, tricknology.
Okay.
The whole idea of systematic oppression does not lie and is not rooted in belief. When you talk about the term belief, we're talking about believing a lie. Based on what? Because it's not based on facts. Belief is not based on facts. So these things may be happening on campus because of racism, white supremacy, unbeknownst to some black people and a whole lot of white people on a subconscious level. But black people know these things are physically happening to us. And we want to believe just the opposite of what the president talked about in his quote-unquote resignation and his apology. What I mean by that, Brother Rich, is this. Black people have been rooted into the quote-unquote belief that we're all the same. We're all human. We all got equal opportunity in America, the land of the free and the home of the brave. We all have equal opportunity. So if you believe that someone put a swastika on the wall in feces, then it's going to happen to you. If you believe that people are calling you nigger every other day, then it's going to happen to you. If the president is driving through 50, 60 protesters and he almost hit someone with his car, if you believe that's going to happen to you, then it's going to happen to you. Systematic oppression, Brother Rich, is the same trick bag that got us into this 400 years oppression in America. So are we still in this systematic oppression? No. Racism is systemic, and it's very real in education, and you can go throughout America. And a lot of black people and a lot of foreigners want to believe, Brother Rich, that everyone is equal and everyone is starting out at the starting line and have the same opportunity. Not the case, Brother Rich. How in the hell you going, before the race, you going to break one of my legs and expect me to run the same damn race as everyone else? How are you going to take my name, language, culture, God, and religion from me and expect me to thrive like everyone else? So people might say, well, listening to this right here, but there's other people that's been enslaved, but no one else has had their name taken from them, their culture, their history, their God, the very things that make them themselves. How in the hell, Brother Rich, you going to stab me in the back with a knife 9 inches, pull it out 6 inches, and then claim that you made some progress with pulling the knife out 6 inches? Well, the knife is still in my back 3 inches, right or wrong. Mm-hmm. When we talk about racism, white supremacy in America, especially dealing with the educational system, it's systemic, and we need to understand it to that degree. And until we wrap our brains around it and understand it, I'm talking about on a massive scale. I believe Francis Chris Wilson says, imagine 1 million of non-white people armed with the knowledge about the system of racism, white supremacy, thinking independent and following logic to the best of their own ability. Can you imagine what would happen?
Right.
Can you imagine what would happen? Imagine if the football players said to themselves, you know something, we're not going to play anymore. And as a matter of fact, we're going to write letters to all the other college campuses, our brothers and sisters and cousins and nephews, to all the other football players on all the other college campuses, and we're going to shut the whole goddamn season down. Now, let's see what's systemic and what the hell you believe about systematic oppression. And then who becomes the oppressor? The trick is, Brother Rich, they want us to become the oppressors of one another.
Professor Griff, does it ever upset you that, in this instance, it took a football team, it seems like it took a football team to force major change on a campus, or it seems as though when things happen in the black community, people have to cater to the entertainers. We see Farrakhan speaking with Young Jeezy, taking photo ops with Young Jeezy and Rick Ross or whatever so be, because they feel like these people that they entertainers, but they're not into the social thing, but they just here to entertain us. But for some reason, we gave them that position as, you know, our leaders, does it upset you that it seems like they could create change just like that by the football team protesting, then somebody like yourself or somebody like myself or a group, organization, that they can't create the change as fast as them? Does that ever upset you, Professor Griff?
Of course it upsets me. It doesn't upset me to the point where it neutralizes me, though, because I know and understand the day and times that I'm living in, and I know and understand racism, white supremacy. What I think we need to understand, Brother Rich, from this day forward, desperate times call for desperate measures. Right now, Brother Rich, and I'm going to say this, we might get some flack for it, but it's all right. We need to start playing chess and damn checkers. Well, what do you mean by that, Professor Griff? You let them cats on that level, let them play checkers.
Mm-hmm.
If they feel that they want to make some moves and they might want to make a statement every now and then, the football players, basketball players, baseball players, a few little entertainers, a few actors, a few little rappers, let them play chess. Those of us that are operating on this level, we need to play checkers.
That's deep. You said chess and checkers, not chess or
right.
checkers. Listen, man, that's a quotable, man. I'm saying it here right now. Professor Griff, that's a quotable from Professor Griff. If anybody hashtagged that, give him his credit. Chess and checkers. That's deep, Professor Griff. I appreciate that.
Good, thanks.
I want to ask you, Professor Griff, what's your opinion, though, on HBCUs? I think that's the proper name for them. HBCUs like Howard and Clark Atlanta and Spelman. What's your opinion? Because we talk about black institutions, the black schools. What's your opinion on that right there for the young children that may be watching this, wanting to go to them?
Well, Brother Rich, I would encourage anyone that has the opportunity to go to school to get a higher education, to go and take advantage of the opportunities that's afforded to us, Brother Rich. And you're absolutely correct. That is the proper terminology, HBCU, Historical Black Colleges and Universities. Now, do they serve us? No. I've been traveling with Khalid El Hakim at the Black History 101 Mobile Museum for now 10 years, Brother Rich, 10 years straight. In the cold, Brother Rich, every Black History Month, I've been traveling. And we've never been invited to a historical black college and university to set up the exhibit. Never. Ever. So do they serve black people? They may be there, but they're not serving black people. I had a conversation today and yesterday, Brother Rich. Myself, Brother Jay from X-Clan, Daddy-O from Stetsasonic, and Wise Intelligent from Poor Righteous Teacher. We're coming together because we're about to launch Millennium 5, this new platform for artists to get put on and actually get a royalty check. We'll talk about that next week, Brother Rich. But we're talking about moving towards putting steps in place to not only take the music back, but take the whole idea and the concept of a business model that would work for us according to how we move in the music industry. You understand what I'm saying? So the conversation came up, Brother Rich, do we want to make it black or do we want to make it right on across the board? I said, let me tell you something, and this speaks to the question you asked me earlier, Brother Rich. And it's like, even if we made it black, everybody else is coming anyway. Am I right or wrong? Whatever we do, they're coming.
Everybody's
Brother
coming.
Rich, do you realize they got another dance movie coming out and no black people in it?
Crazy.
Really crazy. So we have to understand this particular dynamic. So does it upset me, Brother Rich? Of course it upsets me. It upsets me to the degree where we as a people, we have this way about us that we're able to, listen, Brother Rich, I think I don't mean to keep cutting myself off, but we are still here thriving and living. We're like baby's kids, man. We don't die. We multiply.
Right.
And we're going to find a way to survive in America. Are you following me?
Mm-hmm.
And this is a very real dynamic. Sojourner Truth said, it is the mind that makes the body, Brother Rich. So to speak to your question that you asked very directly, if Sojourner Truth is right, and she is, if it's the mind that makes the body, those of us that are intelligent enough, that have been tried and tested. And that's the key, Brother Rich. We could talk all day long, but until you tried and tested with this, you don't know what makes the man or makes the woman. We don't even know if you could hold up under this. Are you following me? So if the mind makes the body, those of us, now I'm not talking about the talented test or those of us that we have quote-unquote knowledge of self or whatever. I'm just saying those of us that have the courage and the heart and the wherewithal and the mental faculties that can lead our people. You understand what I'm saying? Without having to wear the goddamn title of a leader. Why can't we just be? And it is. You understand what I'm saying? So it's a very, very real concept, Brother Rich, because if the mind truly makes the body, the masses of black people may not come all at once, Brother Rich. But those of us that are there on that particular level, that's doing this work, want to come together and bring the rest of our people, I think that's a beautiful concept. Beautiful concept.
You know, in the past year and a half since I had the show with you, we've seen a lot of race-related incidents in the media more than we've seen in the past 10 years. Like, I mean, all the police shootings, we've talked about it. We've done covered all of them. I remember one time Blue Pill, I talked to Blue Pill on the phone. Blue Pill said, wow, like, you know, like you and Griff just seemed to start your show right before everything popped off. And I'm like, it wasn't planned that way. A conspiracy theorist would think it's planned that way. The Illuminati plotted. They said Rich and Griff are going to, Zaz are going to start. You know, it wasn't. It's universal synchronicity. I don't know. It just started out that way. What I want to say is that right now, what's going on in this country, a lot of interracial relationships are happening. And although at the same time all these racial incidents are happening, because it's so many black and white relationships going on, people are saying, wait a minute, how is it racism? My sister got a white boy husband, or my cousin has a white girlfriend or a white wife, or my friend is messing with a white boy, or my friend's messing with a white boy. So they're like, man, we love each other more than ever. What the hell is Professor Griff bucking out with this white shit? Like, everybody I know is fucking with somebody from the different race. If somebody said that, I've heard people say that white men fuck black women, and I want to use that term because I want to generate an emotion from the people to get them to listen for sport. For those that are in interracial relationships right now, listening to you or know somebody in an interracial relationship and they're listening to you talking this race shit and they're saying, listen, man, we're getting along. We're dating each other. We're fucking each other. We're having children with each other. What are you talking about, Professor Griff? What do you have to say to them, Professor Griff?
Well, I think the whole conversation, Brother Rich, about interracial dating at the peak of police officers in blue uniforms shooting down young black male and females, black young boys and young girls. I think, Brother Rich, when we truly take the time and look at it from a spiritual and a soul perspective, if we look at the whole idea of putting your consciousness aside, ignoring the voice that comes up in you, which is your ancestors speaking to you, you're relaxing your historical perspective, because you don't bring that to the interracial relationship. It's almost like you have to be silent and quiet. You can't take a strong stand on these particular issues in those relationships. I know a few people that are in them. You understand what I'm saying? So once you relax all of these things, you almost have to enter into those particular relationships empty, not truly being yourself. When that conversation comes up, Brother Rich, then you have to silence it and end up going to goddamn Starbucks to get a fucking frappuccino or something, and it becomes a side issue. And then you brag to your friends in a blog somewhere or on a tweet by saying, well, look, I don't know what all the racial strife and tension is about. Look, my husband is white, and we get along fine.
Exactly.
But you can't not use your individual situation as a, what do you call it, as a Yeah, exactly. To use it to measure
Mm.
everything that's going on racially in the country.
Mm.
So we have to understand that particular dynamic. And then what was the set of circumstances and what are the set of circumstances that's causing black and white people to come together in these particular unions? Is the understanding, Brother Rich, of racism, white supremacy present? Because if you said to me a few minutes ago that white men fuck black women, they're doing it at the cost of genetic annihilation. Let's pause on that, Brother Rich.
Mm-hmm.
Because if black men, white men are going into black women and the children are going to come out black, where are white people going to end up in 100 years?
Mm-hmm.
They're not even going to be on the planet. So we need to think about this on a genetic level and study Dr. Frances Cress-Welsing's work. And then after we put her work to the side, study Amos Wilson, and then we want to get deeper, we need to study our brothers and sisters that have actually went deeper into this whole science of interracial relationships. Now, there are some brothers and sisters that have actually put it down and put it out there in such a way that will that they stand on Dr. Frances Cress-Welsing's work. Can you imagine that experiment going down, Brother Rich? 10 black men, 10 black women, 10 white men, 10 white women, all in a small community. Everyone having sex with everyone. Right?
Mm-hmm.
In 100 years, let's come back and see what the children look like.
Yeah, I got you.
Are you following me? They won't even be here. So then we have to take hold of what Richard King talked about when he talked about the black dot. When we start tapping into that thing that makes us black. So the whole conversation is coming up with the children of the union with white and black, walking black, talking black, acting black. And we spoke about that a few minutes ago. The way we wear our clothes is that black. Well, who's defining these things? Or are we doing this out of a cultural expression because we're trying to regain and remember and find our identity? So, Brother Rich, to answer your question is very directed, because some people say, well, did he even answer the question? This union between white and black at a time in America where white people are actually controlling not only the weather but the news. They said there were 74 shootings after the Sandy Hook. Where did they happen at, Brother Rich? Because I couldn't find them.
Yeah.
When I heard that, I couldn't find them. And they definitely weren't at schools. We had some sporadic school shootings, but I couldn't find 74 of them. You understand what I'm saying? Why, Brother Rich? Because gun violence actually went down across America. But in order to keep the machine, this New World Order machine, finely tuned, they have to exacerbate the tension between black and white. And then they have to keep black and white couples on TV. Why, Brother Rich? Because they're confusing the people. They're confusing the people. Where were all these damn white and black couples with all these incidents of white officers shooting down black kids? Where were these black and white couples? Did they step up to CNN and did you see them, Brother Rich? I didn't see them. Where were their blogs and where were their tweets? Where was their infomercials? Where was their website set up? Where are they at? Silence, Brother Rich. And silence, Brother Rich, is no excuse. Silence is no excuse. In the end, it's not going to be your enemies. It's going to be the silence of your friends. Martin Luther King.
That's Martin Luther King?
That was his quote.
Say that again. Say that one more time.
And he said, in the end, it's not going to be the clamor of your enemies. It's not going to be their voice. It's going to be the silence of your friends. You understand what I'm saying? That when you're standing up for justice, when you're standing up for justice and your friends are silently sitting on the sidelines, watching them crucify you. Because I believe he says injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
Anyway, yeah, right. I remember that, yeah. Now, you know, a couple of months ago, Professor Griff, this is November. I would say probably in August. Yeah, about August. I seen I was in Harlem. You know, I live in Harlem. And I said, let me stop by 125th to check Sarnetta. So I'm not doing what he usually do. He's on his bullhorn, cursing people out and all that.
Well, he do a lot more than cursing.
Yeah. So there's a white lady. There's a white lady he's arguing with. And she's telling him he's a racist, and she's telling him his message is full of racism and he should be in jail or whatever. And she's doing this while wearing a bag. She has a bag, and it has Malcolm X on it.
Yeah.
So it's just, I'm like, wow. Like, so what's Saturday was just talking about the system of racism and white supremacy. So I'm like, in my mind, Professor Griff, I'm saying, looking at everything going on, I'm analyzing everything. I'm saying, what the fuck? Like an average black person see her, they're like, oh, she's down for the cause. Oh, yeah, white lady. Power to the people. Yeah, you down for the cause. You got a Malcolm X bag. But little do they know, she's around the corner cursing outside Netta, saying he should be locked up in prison while at the same time reading Malcolm X bag. What does that have to do with my question? Professor Griff, I'm going to give some names. Muhammad Ali, Tupac Shakur, Malcolm X. These are all names during my lifetime. I've seen white people, some white people will talk shit about them, especially Tupac, because that was my era. Talk a massive amount of shit about them while they're alive or while they're well. And then when they're dwindling in their older age or they're no longer around or they're no longer a threat, they praise and worship them. And it's weird to me. And I know what you would say, like, yo, they secretly hate them. But it's like, if you hate somebody, hate them in their death. Why worship them, Professor Griff? This is what I'm asking you. Why worship? If you hate somebody, hate them even after they die. Say fuck them after they 6 feet under. Why is it that we have all these people, and Muhammad Ali's not dead, but he's in a point where he's not the same. He's what do you want to say, disabled or handicapped. He's not the same Muhammad Ali, so he's not coming at them like he was, where there's a clip where he's telling them of white supremacy. He's not coming at them like he was. So why hate somebody when they're in their prime, but either when they're dwindling in their old age or they're dead, then you decide to worship them? If you're going to hate somebody, hate them. Professor Griff, tell me the psychology behind this, because that day at that time, I didn't understand this white lady cursed his son at the same time wearing Malcolm X bag, that he says the same thing Sarnetta says. Professor Griff, please explain that to me.
Well, more so than trying to explain that, Brother Rich, because it would probably take us to take a couple of these white people to lay them on the couch and take some damn notes. So more so than trying to explain it, I think we can. It'll be ridiculous for us to try to explain that away. But let's just try to put it under the microscope and understand it. Tupac, Muhammad Ali, and Malcolm X. What is it that they represent? They represent aspects of the struggle of black people coming out from under white people's oppression. Tupac, music, Muhammad Ali, sports, and Malcolm X, as far as the religious aspect, spiritual aspect, and the revolutionary aspect of Malcolm X. What do white people do? And we've seen this historically happen over and over and over and over again. In order to digest a Tupac, they have to make Tupac safe in their minds in order to allow that conversation to happen with their children.
That's deep.
They have to make Muhammad Ali safe. They got to
name
a street after him and give him a goddamn cereal and a cartoon. You got to make him safe. You got to make Malcolm safe.
Deep.
He was a civil rights leader. Malcolm wasn't no goddamn civil rights leader. Malcolm X called white people devils all damn day long, and probably was the best one at him in college. Am I right or wrong? Malcolm X wasn't safe like that, but they have to make him safe.
They have to make him safe. Oh, that's deep.
So you can get the purse, and now you can get the earrings and the bracelet and the shopping bag with Malcolm's face on it, because now Malcolm is safe.
Mm-hmm.
This is what they have to do with their own psyche in order for them to digest. And then what they do, they regurgitate the same old madness every year. Dr. Martin Luther King, he had a dream.
Mm-hmm.
They'll come up with one of these safe slogans that they'll put on a T-shirt about Malcolm X, and they'll pick some of the safe, poetry. They don't call it rap or hip hop from Tupac to make it safe. And then when you want to talk about the negative aspects of these particular individuals, they said, "Oh yeah, it was probably the music, the thug stuff that Tupac was, and that's probably what killed him. Oh yeah, it was the Nation of Islam that ruined the career of Muhammad Ali." And that Malcolm X, his own people killed him. This is their conversation because these brothers have become safe. Now the question is, Brother Rich, how will they handle your death, or you in your death? How will they handle me? What will they write about us? You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Right now on Wikipedia, you put in Professor Griff, Richard Griffin. He was born an American rapper in Roosevelt. Stop that. That don't even sound like me. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. See, but they put these things out there, Brother Rich, and then what they do is they try to control aspects of who these people are in their machine while they're living, and then while they're dead, Brother Rich. Now, it's sad because they couldn't deal with those three brothers if those three brothers were alive, right or wrong. Mm-hmm. I mean, alive at their peak. Just alive at their peak.
Right. No, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? If Malcolm's idea and his agenda was fulfilled and operating among us, we wouldn't even be having this discussion now, would we, Brother Rich? Because Malcolm trained for killers. Am I right or wrong? Mm-hmm. Now, if Tupac's vision was alive and well in the hearts and minds of our people, we wouldn't even have problems with our sons, because we just tell them to go listen to Tupac, and they would get it. We would have young revolutionaries between the ages of 5 and 10 born every single day. Am I right or wrong? Because Tupac was about it, right or wrong, as Master P would say. About it. For real. Seriously. So in white people's psyche, they have to, even though they want to identify with other cultures, there is absolutely no way you're going to get around the militant propensity that Tupac displayed. And the same thing with Malcolm. And the same thing. Listen, the beautiful thing about all three of those brothers that you mentioned, Brother Rich, they were vocal. They mastered the English language. Muhammad Ali was a poet, man.
Yeah.
Tupac was twisting these words up and these concepts, going in and out of the Harriet Tubman vibration, as Black Dot teaches about Tupac. And he was getting and reaching out people that you and I probably couldn't even reach. Am I right or wrong? Mm-hmm. And Malcolm was connecting the brother on the African continent with the brother here, and he was tapping into, even though it was a religious thing, but Brother Malcolm was reaching us. He was reaching the masses of us on a political revolutionary plane that the average minister inside of the Nation of Islam on a religious tip now couldn't do. Now, some of the early ministers was bringing it. Yusuf Shah, Jeremiah Shabazz, young minister Louis Farrakhan, and some other brothers. They was bringing it, and that was just the vibe at that particular time. But Malcolm was the best at it. You understand what I'm saying? Mastering the English language in prison, roaring out of prison, handcuffing scholars in these debates. So hats off to Sonetta. I seen when Sonetta ran the other woman off the block, calling us niggas. And by right, he should. Hats off to Sonetta.
Now, Professor Griff, I spoke with, I was speaking to his sister yesterday about the incident that happened in the University of Missouri, and I asked her, I said, well, she has a child that's in college, a freshman in college. And I said, well, ask your child that's in college what's going on, and just to let me know the atmosphere, because I see it spreading throughout different campuses. Mm-hmm. So her immediate response was, hell no. My kid listen, there ain't a lot of black people there. My kid, man, they got to finish college and get a good job. They ain't got time for that shit, man. Like, she was, very defensive. So what I want to ask you, Professor Griff, is that are people because we're in this rat race, Professor Griff, in this country. I mean, you can make $1 million a year and still be in a rat race in this country because you have a mortgage and car notes and you take care of this and that. You could be a millionaire and still be in a rat race. That's what people don't realize. Yes. The rat race doesn't end because you only make $30,000. It goes on and on and on and on and on. So with that being said, Professor Griff, tell the people, and we're just about done with an hour, but tell the people about the rat race versus long-term happiness and what our people should be striving for if we really want our children, grandchildren, and so forth to be happy, Professor Griff.
But you know something, happiness is going to be defined by the individual that determines their own destiny. So we can't determine that for the individual. Some people are happy with living in an apartment and eating Cheerios, man, every morning. We can't determine their happiness. You following me? But to answer the spirit of women like that, not necessarily her, but that spirit. First of all, sister, it may not be no job for your child to get. And then the education that they're coming out of school with, the world is going to be vastly different in 4 years. And we need to take this into consideration and study Claude Anderson. We need to take these things into consideration and understand the global marketplace and the fact that there may not be a job, you understand what I'm saying, for your child to get. So we need to understand this whole idea of establishing something for yourself while we can, brother. And I want to emphasize that and underline that. The time is now. There's certain infrastructures, Brother Rich, that are being put in place by people that don't look like us. That's going to serve as the basis for what's to happen 10 years from now, Brother Rich. Are you following what I'm saying, Brother Rich?
Gotcha.
Because sometimes when you talk about that, it gets kind of confusing. The foundation of that infrastructure is being built right now globally. This is why they're offering free Wi-Fi everywhere you go, Brother Rich. Everyone's going to be connected to everyone else.
Right.
There's software programs that are coming out now. There's some that's been out because I used some, where you can speak into the phone and it'll translate what you're saying into a different language to the person on the other end, Brother Rich. So the infrastructure is being in place now. For the person that is not computer literate right now as we speak, shame on you. Would you say that, Brother Rich? Because everything has a password now. Everything is digital. And that's just where so the average brother and sister on a college campus, as we come to a close on this interview, the average brother and sister on a college campus, you better get 2 degrees and 2 sets of education. You better take 2 sets of notes. You better take them notes in class so you can regurgitate that stuff and get the grade. But then again, on your off time, you better take another set of notes and figure out what's going on in the world, because by the time you get that little rolled up piece of paper, walk across that stage with that crooked square hat on, you understand what I'm saying? Your family members in the audience, you better be able to take that degree into a global marketplace and make something happen, not only for yourself, but for your family and for your people. The beautiful thing that the students laid out at the college, which I applaud them for, Brother Rich, these brothers and sisters had a list of demands. Did you see that?
Yeah.
We demand that the University of Missouri system president, Tim Wolf, write a handwritten apology to the concerned students of 1950 demonstrators and hold a press conference in the Mizzou Student Center reading the letter. And he did. He bowed, and it worked. This is monumental. It says we demand the immediate removal of Tim Wolf as a UM system president. After his removal, a student admin to UM system policies must be established to have all future UM system president and chancellor positions to be selected by, listen, Brother Rich, and everybody that's hearing this, a collective of students, staff, and faculty of diverse backgrounds. White people can't vote their friends in no more, Brother Rich. You understand? The good old boy network is done, especially on that campus. It says, we demand the University of Missouri meets the Legion of Black Collegians demands that were presented in 1969 for the betterment of the black community. Damn. They were back to 1969. They're going back into history, man. You understand what I'm saying? This is monumental. A list of demands? The only time I've seen a goddamn list of demands is some crazy-ass cracker holding some people hostage talking about, I need a helicopter and $1 million and Reese's Pieces and a fucking Snicker bar, and I want it now.
But Professor Griff, I know I said that was the last question. Real quick. But what's the difference between, and I covered last year, the Donald Stern incident with you last year.
Stern or Sterling?
What do you?
Donald Sterling, right?
Sterling, yeah, I'm sorry. Sterling,
okay,
yeah.
Cool, yeah.
Okay, yeah, Donald Sterling.
Same
right.
guy, yeah, but go on.
You get what I'm saying? But
right.
What's the difference between, why do you think there was such a difference between what the NBA players did, wearing T-shirts and then just going on playing as usual, versus what these college students did? Because some people feel as though these college students set an example of what all the athletes need to do. So why the college students set an example versus the professional athletes set an example?
Well, I think we have to look at that three different ways, really, Brother Rich. College students still live with mom. So the college students they have a lot less to lose. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? Pro athletes are under certain contracts and stipulations and under the guidelines of their contracts that they have. They're not allowed to do X, Y, and Z. You understand what I'm saying? So I think that's on one level. I'm not saying, and I don't want people to get me wrong, I'm not saying what the pro ballers attempted to do didn't garner and get some attention. And I think that's all it did. What the college students did was monumental. They shut it down. You understand what I'm saying? God forbid, if the ripple effect happens and all the other colleges take note as to what's going on, all right, on the college campus, racism as we know it had to change its look. You understand what I'm saying? That's just on that level. Whether things truly change systemically, we don't know that. Probably not. That goes back to the question that we started out with this interview. We definitely need to get our own colleges and universities so we can truly have historical black colleges and universities. So there is a big difference. We understand what the pro players tried to do, but the college players said, you know something? No, the buck stops here before I even become a professional football player. I'm letting people know this is going to go on the record, that I'm going to take a stand to establish justice and eradicate racism and white supremacy. Thank you, Brother Rich.
And on that note, Professor Griff, I want to thank you for coming on the show. Our hour's about done. Well, it is done. But please leave the people your contact info so they can contact you for more information about whatever it is you got going on, Professor Griff.
Okay, give thanks. Well, as I always do, Brother Rich, I give people my phone number and they can call me directly. My number is 678-557-2919. That's 678-557-2919. My website is www.professorgriff.me. It's professorgriff.me. And starting next week, Brother Rich, I have Serious Minds news on naturalnews.com. They actually giving me a blog 2 days a week, man. 2 days a week, a written blog, and then I'm on Talk Network Tuesday and Thursday nights from 10 to 11. It's a podcast. I'm going to pre-record them, interview some key people, go up on the block, do whatever. But I'm going to get that information. That's at talknetwork.com. It's talknetwork.com. And Brother Rich, Serious Minds Radio and TV, I'm launching it in January. That's Serious Minds, SIRIUS Minds, MINDZ.com, SeriousMinds.com. I'm launching it in January. And last but not least, Brother Rich, well, really not last because there's some other things coming in February which I can't really announce right now. Probably a later show I'll announce it. But the Alchemical Cipher Study Group, I think it's imperative that we study, Brother Rich. And I want to be able to connect with all those brothers and sisters that out there that really truly want to study. So I think on Wednesday nights before we do this every Wednesday, I think I'm gonna have a study group, man, and present some things to some people in this alchemical cipher that I want to do in this study group. So I'm gonna develop.
That's hot. That's what's up.
Oh, give thanks, man. We have to, man. I'm just trying to find that necessary software where I can get 100 people on all at one time. So the alchemical cipher, you go to alchemicalcipher.com, seriousminds.com, and of course, all of those links will be on my website at professorgriff.me. And as always, Brother Rich, I want to thank you, man. John Henry Clark said, as long as you and I are dependent on another people solely for our jobs, your house, anything you need to survive, especially your education and your spirituality and your religion and believing in their God, we will always remain a slave, man. Always. Always.
Indeed.
That's Dr. John Henry Clark. Listen, political power accompanied by economic power is meaningless. Randall Robinson said that political power accompanied by economic power is meaningless. If you got political power, we got to activate this whole economic plan. Because as long as we keep begging another people to feed us and take care of us, we'll forever be someone else's slave. Thank you very much, Brother Rich. I really appreciate you, brother.
And on that note, this is Brother Rich, Underground Railroad with Professor Griff, and we will see you next week. We signing out, y'all. Peace.
Peace.